In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room2Breathe Podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so glad that you made space to be here today. Now, before we get into today's episode, do me a quick favor. If you are feeling the vibe, go ahead and show some love. Tap that screen, like, comment, and share this with somebody who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that follow button, subscribe to our channel, so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at selfcareclub.org, where you'll find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and free resources to nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So remember to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, but most importantly, for you. Now, if anything from today's episode hits home, drop a green heart in the chat. It is our way of saying that I am healing, I am growing, and I am showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. We got Robin in the house. I see you, Queen. Cars, manifesting stability, Miss Denise. We've got Cardi over here. No comment. Stanley, I see you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here today. This week I wanted to do something a little bit different. Typically we change our topics every single day, but I thought for this week we would do a little mini series. It's going to be a 4-part series, so Monday through Thursday. And we're going to be a little petty with it this week, y'all. Petty but peaceful. Okay. So today, hey Concrete Rose. Our topic for today, day one, is yes, I forgave you, but I didn't forget the lesson. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with this unspoken grudge called growth. Okay. And I feel like it's so fitting for our day one of our petty but peaceful mini series. A lot of times when I think about this, it's like, yes, I'm peaceful, right? I'm healing. Yeah, I'm grounded, right? But baby, I'm not forgetful, right, Miss Sherry? Like, I'm all things calm, but I don't have amnesia. Yeah, Robin, petty but peaceful. Because like I said, peace doesn't equal amnesia. And sometimes the most loving thing that I can do for me is never let that lesson leave me. All right, so we're going to talk about this, like I said, this unspoken grudge called growth. See, people love to say that you have to forgive and forget. But I don't know about you, but like, yeah, I forgave, but I remembered everything. And it's not out of bitterness, not out of spite. It's out of wisdom, because that memory is part of my blueprint. That memory is my boundary, right? It's my built-in reminder not to visit that same pain again and dress it up in a new package, right? So, let's just keep it real. There's a version of me that would have ignored, red flags just to keep the peace. There's this version of me that used to over-explain, over-apologize, over-give, and under-receive, right? I was doing a lot of over and getting a lot of under, okay? And that girl, Oh, I left her behind lovingly, right? Now, every now and then, somebody from my past will try to pop up and act like the old version of me still exists. And I be having to tell them, like, bruh, old Helen is gone. Sam, I am, welcome in. Like, she has moved. And she took her peace with her, right? And, here's the truth that most people don't want to say out loud. I can forgive you and still not want to speak to you again. Like, I could wish you well and still delete your number. Thanks, Sam. I can pray for your healing and still block your access to mine. And it's not petty, despite what society wants to tell you. That is protective. That's not being vengeful. That's being vital. Because when you've gone through enough cycles of chaos and gaslighting and emotional gymnastics, your nervous system will literally start rejecting anything that even feels like disrespect. So yeah, I'm peaceful now. And I feel like I've earned this peace, right? I fought for this version of me. And I'll be damned if I just hand her back to somebody who thinks that growth means I forgot how you had me messed up. And let's talk about this idea of holding on, onto the memory is holding on to the grudge. Because if I'm being real, y'all, I'm not holding a grudge. I'm merely holding a standard. And the moment someone feels offended by my new standards, it's probably because they benefited from me when I didn't have any. So, today I'm like, listen, I again, it may be a little bit petty, but I'm filled with peace. And so, this lesson is a lesson of, I learned from my last betrayal. Welcome in, Kale. Right? And how I'm choosing to honor it in this season of my healing. Because if you forget the lesson, you risk repeating it. And we don't have time for reruns when we are trying to literally heal in real time. Right? You can be petty and peaceful. You can be healing and have boundaries. You can be spiritual and still say, I'm not the one nor the two. Right? Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean that you have to accept everything that the world gives you. And we don't have to call it a clapback. We can simply call it closure. Right? Because I think it's important for us to talk about, the label that we get as we begin our healing process, as we try to heal. Thank you, Rose. This word that people love to throw around when you finally find your voice, right? Everybody wants to say, oh, she's petty. They're being petty, right? But what if I told you that sometimes what they're calling petty is actually powerful? See, there comes a point in the healing when you stop needing to clap back with your words. And instead, you start clapping back with your actions. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Right? Like, how do I clap back with my actions because I'm still using my words? Well, you begin to set your boundaries. Right? Boundaries, distance, alignment, silence. See, that's not petty. That's peace with a posture. That is us developing a backbone. People don't talk enough about how hard it is to stay silent when you know that you could wreck somebody's whole life with facts, not rumors, not gossip, right? I don't have to spill tea. I can state facts. Just straight receipts, and a healed throat chakra, right? But growth says you don't need to be louder. You just need to be clearer. And let me tell you what clarity sounds like. Clarity sounds like I said what I said, and I don't owe you an encore. Asked and answered, right? I don't explain the decisions that I make for my mental health. And I'm not seeking revenge. I'm simply securing my peace. Because everybody thinks that once you start to stand your ground, you are out for some sort of revenge. Yeah. Right, Robin? They don't like that. But I'm not seeking revenge on you because I'm securing peace for me. Exactly. Miss Sherry said, Kendrick said, don't tell that lie about me and I won't tell the truth about you. And you know what? When people feel that shift of energy, oh, baby, that's when they try to gaslight you, right? They call it an attitude. They say you being distant, you acting brand new. Why you acting brand new? Because I am brand new. Is today not a new day? Right? So, nah, this ain't new. I've been like this. What up, Chris? Thank you, bro. Right? Tell them this ain't new. This has always been me. This is just the version of me that I needed to be, right? You weren't used to the version of me that didn't beg you for respect. And so let's be clear, closure doesn't have to always come with a conversation. Exactly. Manifesting Stability said that's not true. I'm just tired of being stepped on. And so we have to understand that closure doesn't always have to come with a conversation. Anytime we bring something to an end, society has us conditioned to believe that we need to go find closure. God already closed the door. We need to realize that sometimes closure is when you finally tell yourself the truth about, that relationship, that friendship, that family member, right? When you start really speaking to it for what it is, not for what you want it to be, but for what it actually is. Sometimes closure is sometimes closure is when you stop giving CPR to dead situations. Sometimes closure is you deleting the thread, right? Blocking the number, reclaiming your narrative without needing applause. This season, we're not defending our peace like it's fragile. We're protecting our peace like it's sacred. So no, it's not a clap back. It's clarity, right? It's not bitterness. It's boundaries. It's not attitude. It is authority. Exactly. Let's just call it what it is, right? Accept it for what it is. And people, we need to really start to understand that it's not revenge. I am reinventing myself. I am bettering myself. And, it gets deeper than just my healing, right? I'm on this spiritual walk, this holy journey. In order for me to walk in my purpose, I've got to reinvent myself. There's some things about me that I got to be willing to let go of. And again, some people only understand your silence, when you stop showing up the way that you used to. And, they run around thinking that you're being cold, that you're being distant. But again, this ain't about you, right? It's not about revenge. I'm reinventing. Like, allow me to reintroduce myself. I didn't go ghost. I went inward. I didn't cut you off. I snipped that trauma bond. I didn't switch up. I woke up. Because healing will have you looking at the old version of yourself like, I really used to shrink myself like that. No fear, no doubt. Welcome in. Like, I'm serious. Healing will have you looking back like, I really let them guilt me into overgiving. Like, I really said yes when my entire nervous system was screaming no. But not anymore, right? And the thing is, people get uncomfortable when you start choosing yourself consistently. You're no longer entertaining half-hearted energy, breadcrumb love, or shady support, right? So what they try to call revenge is called remembering your worth. You're not trying to prove anything to anybody, right? When you're finally living in alignment with what God always knew was inside of you, that's There's nothing vengeful about that. Let me put it this way. You didn't reinvent yourself out of spite, right? You reinvented yourself out of survival, out of self-respect, out of knowing that you cannot stay in the same rooms with the same habits, doing the same patterns that were choking the light and life out of your soul. Enough is enough. This version of you didn't come from ego. It came from evolution. You had to grow into this softness. You had to earn and learn this kind of peace. You had to fight for this level of clarity. And that's why it's non-negotiable now. It's not up for debate. My healing isn't your choice, it's mine. So when people run around saying that you changed, let them talk. Let them call it whatever helps them sleep at night. Because the truth is, they were never supposed to recognize this version of you, right? This version of you that you've been praying for, that you've cried for, that you've journaled into existence. They were never meant to understand it because your healing journey ain't about them. And when you finally started becoming her or becoming him, right? You realize that you didn't lose them, you found you. So again, begin to understand that, we don't need to clap back because we are clapping forward. Yeah. I'm not, stuck on proving a point to people anymore. I used to always want to prove a point, y'all. But now I'd rather focus on protecting my peace. And if you really think about it, there's no shade in that, right? Because it opens the door, it opens the windows to let the sunlight in. I'm now blooming in what used to bury me. Yeah, let go. Keep moving forward. So I don't argue anymore. I just leave it right there. It is what it is, right? Because, I don't know about y'all, but, where y'all are in your journey. But I feel like you reach a point in your peace journey when you realize that every trigger simply doesn't deserve a reaction. You know what I mean? Like every insult doesn't require an explanation. They said what they said. I felt how I felt. It kind of is what it is. I'm good. I'm moving on. Right? Every misunderstanding that you experience doesn't require your energy. Now, don't get it twisted. Yeah, I used to be that girl, right? I used to have a paragraph ready, the receipts, the screenshots, the perfectly worded text, because those who know me, y'all know I'm real good with a pen. But what I didn't realize is that every single time that I was, curating the clapback, I was wasting sacred energy trying to prove that, I deserved something, right? That I was worthy of something. So arguing with them had nothing to do with my healing. That argument never healed me. Explaining never protected me. And being right never set me free. Y'all know what did? Silence, distance, release, right? See, when you finally start hearing yourself more than you're trying to be heard by others, that's when peace moves in and starts planting roots. So now, this level of my healing journey, I don't need closure. I don't need a final word. I don't even need you to get it. Like, what I'm doing doesn't have to make sense to anybody else because my soul is clear. I don't chase clarity from people committed to misunderstanding me. And again, because the whole theme this week is petty but peaceful, allow me to be petty but peaceful real quick. Again, y'all said what you said, right? I peeped it. I prayed on it. And now I've pivoted. I'm moving forward. That's it. No dramatics. No drawn out saga. No 6-part series. What happened was, right? Just quiet exits, soft boundaries. Because we don't just protect our peace. We have to learn how to literally like walk into it, walk with it, carry it with us. Because we're not only protecting our peace, we're protecting, ourselves, our soul, every single thing that we've worked for. And we protect it by what we no longer try to fix, argue, and explain. And so, yeah, people may think I'm cold now, and that's fine. Right? Y'all may be running around saying, she changed. I have. You may think I owe you something. I don't. Because peace taught me that some things you don't respond to, you just recover from. So if you're in that space where you feel tempted to clap back, to clear your name, to put somebody in their place, I need you to breathe, boo. Okay? I need you to breathe. And I want you to ask yourself, is this worth my wellness? Is this aligned with who I'm becoming? Is this conversation adding to my clarity, or is it draining my capacity? Because I promise you, if it ain't feeding your future, you need to leave it there. If it's not fertilizing your growth, leave it there. If it ain't God, grace, or guidance, leave it there. That's my 3 G's, y'all. God, grace, and guidance. If it's not going to move me forward, I'm going to just leave it right there. And that comes with every single ship you can think of, a relationship, a friendship, a companionship, whatever ship, because I know that it is supposed to take me somewhere. Thank you. I know that a ship is designed to take me somewhere. And I'm not trying to roll down the highway to hell. Okay? I've got somewhere to be. I'm headed to a purpose-filled place. So again, if it ain't God, grace, or guidance, I'm going to have to leave that right there. Y'all can have that. I release the need to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding me. And I'm wise enough now to understand that my silence is not weakness, that it's my wisdom. My peace is my protest in this fight. So I no longer chase closure. I choose clarity. And I need you guys to understand that you are allowed to outgrow conversations, chaos, and connections. Just like I got my 3 G's that I roll with, I got them 3 C's that I'm willing to let go of. I outgrow conversations, chaos, and connections. And, another thing that makes me think of is the ministry of the mute button. Y'all ever think about it like that? Like there is a ministry in the mute button. Protecting your peace without posting about it. Because I know that we live in this digital world and we are always, posting about what's going in our lives. And everybody wants to jump on the book and the gram and everywhere else and post all their business. But we've got to begin to understand that just because I'm quiet, it doesn't mean I'm weak. I'm sacred, right? Sometimes peace doesn't announce itself with fireworks and grand exits. Sometimes peace tiptoes behind the block number. Sometimes peace is found in a conversation that's left on read, or a prayer that's whispered instead of a clapback being posted or tweeted. Yeah, that mute and block ministry, Kale. Yes. And again, I know that we live in a world that glorifies this public unfollow, right? Society wants us to cancel everything. But let me tell y'all something. The most powerful healing that I've done happened in private. It didn't come with a status update. There was no sub post, right? Just a decision, a divine decision to choose me over the mess. And again, this is where petty starts to try to creep in on you, right? Because the old you would have screenshotted the drama. The old you would have drafted an entire monologue, went live on Instagram, and been like, let me say this real quick about da 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 da. But the healed you simply hits mute. Not to punish, but to protect. Because when you know who you are and whose you are, you don't have to prove anything to people who've already decided who they want you to be. Sometimes I don't cut you off because I'm mad at you. I cut you off because I love my peace more than I love being triggered. It's not about being passive. It's about being precise. It is about being intentional. Your silence is a sermon that some people need to hear. Your boundaries are the benediction, right? You are no longer explaining your decisions to people who benefit from your confusion. You are no longer dancing in rooms that play chaos on repeat. You are pressing mute, not because you don't care, but because you care too deeply about you. You said, say that again. Let me run it back. But where are we running it back to? About the silence being the sermon or the boundaries being the benediction? It's not necessary to explain our decisions to people who don't even really care to understand in the first place. So yeah, press mute. And don't get it twisted. Being peaceful doesn't mean that you are becoming a pushover. It means that you've elevated, right? When they go low, we go high. It just simply means that you've decided to allow the storm to pass without stepping outside to chase it. That's growth. That is self-control. That is known as spiritual stamina. So let me ask y'all a question today. Thank you. Who or what do y'all need to press mute on today? Not out of malice, right? But out of mindfulness. What are you still trying to respond to when the only answer left is silence? Remember, sometimes the most powerful, I said what I said is simply saying nothing at all and meaning every single syllable of that sacred silence. Yeah. Sometimes it be the people we share the DNA with, cars. Sometimes it be, the old loves. We tired of spinning the block. We done. It is what it is. This ship has sailed, right? And it ain't headed nowhere that I want to go. So yeah, it sometimes, like I said, it is important for us to just press that mute button. And we have to begin to be okay with the release. Right? Releasing without having a press conference. Letting go loud in the spirit, but quiet in our speech. Like I want the Lord to see that I done let it go. So I'm gonna let it go loud in my spirit, but quiet in what I say. Okay? So let's talk about this release, right? The real release. The kind that don't come with closure emails and dramatic text messages. We done with that. That's played out, y'all. right? I'm talking about the kind where you don't need to tell your side of the story because you're at peace, right? And your spirit already knows the truth. I know what happened, right? And there's always going to be other versions of the story, my truth, your truth, the truth, right? But my spirit already knows the truth when it comes to me, right? This is the moment where you finally stop bleeding your boundaries dry for people who never even brought you a band-aid for your wounds. I don't think we talk enough about how hard it is to let go of people that you prayed for, or to release the job that you begged God for, because now it's become the very thing that's draining your joy. Or how hard it is to walk away from friendships that you once called family. We have to begin to understand that freedom ain't always cute in the beginning. It sometimes looks lonely. It sometimes feels guilty. But in the end, it's all peace. And that's the goal. Me understanding that I don't need revenge. My release is my response. That's the goal. You don't need, thank you, congratulations, guys. You don't need, or I should say, you don't owe anybody, some 3-paragraph explanation. You don't have to throw shade to justify your healing. Sometimes we just got to go quiet, right? We just need to go heal. Release is grown healing work. It's spiritual work. It's the type of work that teaches you how to bless your own, right? And throw yourself your own going away party. Nobody else is invited. Yeah, I'm done explaining. And I'm doing it even if no one else claps, right? No one has to celebrate this growth that I'm on. Hey, Miss Glow, welcome in, love. And don't get me wrong. I know the flesh be ready to spin the block with a little, let me remind y'all who y'all playing with energy, right? Because even the healed version of you got a little, let me remind y'all a little something, right? That inside voice whispers, let them. I just finished reading this book, Let Them, by Mel Robbins. And in this book, it focuses on you just allowing people to just be people, to go do what they need to do, right? And so, when I say let them, I'm gonna just walk away from a situation and let them do what they're gonna do. And then the second part of the let them is let me. So as I let them go be whoever they're gonna be and do whatever they're gonna do, let me mind my business. Let me focus on me. Let me mind my mental and fill my cup up, right? So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them twist the story however they want. Let me remind myself that ain't got nothing to do with me, right? We are no longer explaining peace to people who are committed to chaos and drama. And I remember I used to always say, people, like when I first started this journey, people would be like, Dag, she's heartless. Like, she's just cold. She don't even care. She cutting off family members and, she breaking up friendship. She don't even care. She is heartless. And I used to be like, I'm not heartless. I just use my heart a little less. But then I started thinking about it and I'm like, no, I don't want to use my heart less because, the heart is what keeps me going. So I've now figured out I'm not heartless. I'm healing. Right? And healing taught me how to love without causing another wound. So yeah, I may have been a hurt person, but I'm not going to go out here and keep hurting people. I'm a hurt person who is healing. Therefore, I don't have to continue to hurt people. I don't have to have a path of destruction just because I'm healing. I don't need to tear other people down. So today I want you to make space to release something. Maybe it's a name, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's an old version of you, right? A voice in your head that is no longer rooted in love. Yes, it will. Healing will make you walk in silence. I want you to understand that you can release without resentment, that you can forgive without a phone call, that you can move on without moving bitter. Let that thing float off of you like dead weight. You don't have to chase closure when you've already closed the door. And listen, if it's meant to return, it will. But if it doesn't, it served its season and you served your soul. And I really feel like that's the most important thing. It came, or they came, whatever it is, right? It served its season. And in the process, I learned to serve my soul. And if it comes back around to me again, that's what they say. It was meant to be, right? If you love someone or you love something, you set it free. If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never meant to be, right? All right, family. Let me try to land this plane. Okay. Let's figure out how to bring this all the way back home. And I want to do so with the kind of peace that's been tested, proven, and pressed, but never broken, right? Because we done all been through some things. Hey, welcome in. Justin, I know, right? Welcome in. How you been? How's the family? You guys, truth is, being petty but peaceful is not about being fake. It's about being free. And freedom hits different when you've earned it. And, people always think that just because you have soft tones and sage burning, that you won't pull out a boundary and block them with the quickness, right? They always accept our niceness as or they always say that our niceness is our weakness. But, they don't see peace and the process that comes with it. Right? They don't know the behind the scenes of that soft smile. And they don't understand that that's a whole season of clapbacks that I choose not to deliver. A timeline of triggers that I've chosen not to entertain. It's a whole phone full of unsent paragraphs and screenshots that I've archived instead of posting. They're not going to see the true growth, right? But the growth is real nonetheless. And so is the memory. It happened. Healing didn't make me holier than thou. It just made me whole enough to choose better battles, right? They tell you to pick and choose your battles. So healing has helped me learn how to pick and choose my battles. And sometimes silence is the pettiest win of all. So what we're not doing anymore, we're not over-explaining our piece anymore. We're not folding to fake harmony with people. We're not pretending just to keep the group chat cute. Thank you, Manifesting Stability. Have an amazing day, love. From this point forward, we're living by a new rule, right? I'm not angry, I'm aware. I'm not distant, I'm discerning. And I'm not petty, I'm just protective of my peace. Y'all feel me? I'm not petty. My peace is just a priority. I can be the light and still hold a boundary. I can be kind and still walk away. I can be peaceful and still protect my name, my time, my spirit. I don't have to choose between being soft and being smart. I am both because I am whole. Let this be your permission slip to be a little petty when necessary, to protect your peace unapologetically, and to never let people confuse your softness for submission. You are not weak, you are wise. You've just outgrown the drama that used to keep you entertained. You've evolved beyond the need to be understood. And now you're peaceful. But make no mistake, you still that girl. King, you still on the rise. So yeah, petty, but peaceful, right? Just because I didn't make a scene doesn't mean I didn't notice the shift. I peeped it, I processed it, I pivoted, and I meant that boundary that I set. Because boundaries aren't always meant to be loud. They don't always need fanfare or explanations. Sometimes the strongest boundary is the quietest one. The one that says, I'm protecting my peace, even if you don't hear me say it out loud. Some things that I've learned on this journey, you guys, and these are words that I live by, that I want to share with you guys because I want you guys to carry them too. I've learned in my journey that petty is just another word for protecting your peace when folks don't respect the lines that you've clearly drawn. I've learned that healing isn't just about fixing what's broken, but building walls around what you will never let break you again. I've learned that you can't clap back at energy that you no longer carry. You just live better and you let that silence speak volumes. Welcome in, Slim. Still that girl, Robin, right? Still that girl. The greatest flex is not proving them wrong, but proving yourself right by walking away whole. And learning that every single boundary that you set is a love letter to the person you are becoming. Choosing peace over proving your point is revolutionary. It is radical, and it is the deepest form of self-love. So again, sometimes the most powerful no you'll ever say is the one you don't have to explain. You don't owe your growth to anyone who only saw your struggle. Once you stop chasing explanations and start chasing freedom, then you really truly begin your healing. So yeah, we know that healing is messy. It is beautiful, but it's often quiet. And that's okay, because the most powerful work happens when nobody's watching. When you choose yourself, even if it means that you're walking alone. Let healing teach you that peace is the prize. And I want you to refuse to be the only person playing this game. Your absence from toxic spaces is the loudest prayer that you can ever send for your own healing. So when folks ask you why you acting brand new or why you being petty, just smile, because they don't have the full story. And you don't owe them the chapter of your growth. You don't owe them that. Now, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Remember, if this episode is stirring something in your spirit, be sure to share it with someone who needs permission to protect their peace without an apology. And today's episode is day 1 in a 4-part series. So I want you guys to come back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and join me for day 2 of the Petty Ain't Peaceful series. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how they played in our face, right? It's you played in my face, so I prayed in yours. So make sure y'all come back tomorrow ready to dive deeper into trusting your healing and walking in your power. Now, before we part ways, I want to leave you guys with a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you to keep choosing peace, even if it feels just out of reach. And know that here at the Self-Care Club, you are always seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned with intention. And yeah, it is done on purpose, filled with nothing but purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Thank you.